Okay, so you're reading a lot and you're writing a lot. Those are the two fundamentals you need to be doing if you're really serious about becoming a professional author, a published author. Once you've made a commitment to reading every day and writing every day, I guess the next question would be, what do you write? So I want to talk a little bit about ideas. Because I get the question a lot, where do you get your ideas from? And early on, when people would ask me that question, I used to, just kind of give them a strange look. Huh? It just seems so odd to me. Where do you get your ideas? As I got a little older and a little wiser, I started coming up with kind of snarky, smart aleck comments, like, I get it from the writer's mail order catalog. So it's an idea catalog for writers. It comes out every month, subscription. But the truth is, for me, I've always got, I'd say, at least 3 ideas that are knocking around inside my brain. My problem is not, where do I come up with the ideas? My problem is which ideas to work on first. I've always got a couple of story ideas in my head jockeying for position, and I have to decide which one I'm most excited about. And that's usually the one that I'm working on at any given time. So where do you get your ideas? I've always got ideas, and for me personally, I usually try to keep my ideas very, very simple. I'm going to borrow from Jim Butcher, who is a phenomenal writer. He wrote the Harry Dresden series, and in all of your reading, make sure that's in your pile of books to read. Run out to the bookstore or on your tablet, get the first Harry Dresden series. It's called Storm Warning, if my memory is correct. That is a fantastic series, and you could do a lot worse than to emulate Jim Butcher. But I digress. So Jim Butcher said that a story idea needs to be relatively simple. In fact, you should probably be able to pitch the story idea in 1 to 2 sentences. A lot of people would be taken aback by that idea. A lot of, especially amateur writers, would say, "Oh, no, my idea for my story is way too complicated. Oh, you could never boil it down to 1 or 2 sentences." And that's a mistake, especially for beginning writers. If you can't sort of boil the plot down to 1 or 2 sentences, it's going to be too much book. It's just going to be too much story for you to deal with. Most of the best stories can be broken down into 1 or 2 sentences. For instance, Farm Boy teams up with rebel fighters to overthrow a tyrannical government. All right? That's 1 sentence, and it's the plot for Star Wars. 3 movies. So you can get a lot of mileage on a very simple plot idea, and usually the more simple the plot idea, the better, the easier it's going to be to work with. Most of my novels have all been very, very simple plot ideas. For instance, the first Detective's Choice book, if you read it, the plot is a down-on-his-luck gumshoe investigates a series of murders. Somebody's killing off burlesque dancers. All right, that's not rocket science, right? I mean, that's one sentence, but you know, I got a pretty good story out of that. If you read Pirates Never Die, a pirate captain is captured by the British government and threatened. She can either hang or she can go in search of this dangerous buried treasure, right? Okay, again, that's one sentence, a very small idea, but it proved to be a pretty doggone good book, if I do say so myself. I certainly enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing it. So you can take a very simple idea and make a great book. On the other hand, if your idea is so complicated that it takes 3 or 4 sentences or a couple of paragraphs, it's probably going to be too much story for you. So you want to keep your ideas pretty simple. You want to be able to deliver them in a sentence or two. That's going to be plenty of room to work. The other thing I'm going to say about my ideas is all of my ideas are plot oriented. And I know that there are probably literature professors and upscale fiction authors would cringe at that and think, oh God, he's a genre fiction author. But for me, I've always been more entertained by stories that are plot driven. Character driven stories just make me roll my eyes and, you know, kind of want to curl up and fall asleep. There's nothing worse than a character study, if you ask me. I can't stand the local theater here because every play they put on is a slice of life character study, and it's very, you know, French existentialist ennui, just make you want to die of boredom. My stories are always plot driven. I tend to take a character, drop him into a situation, right? Nobleman is a very plot driven book. Jake Noble is trying to scrape together money for his mother's cancer treatment, and the CIA offers him, you know, $100,000 for an impossible mission. Again, it's one sentence long. It's plot driven and not character driven. That's going to be much easier to write than something that is character driven. If you are the type of, you know, kind of highbrow literary reader and you want to write character fiction, you probably take advice from somebody other than me. Take a college course on writing. They'll tell you everything you ever wanted to know about character-driven stories and probably bore your socks right off while they're at it. So that's just me. And again, you know, remember that I'm giving you my take on writing. This is, you know, people have asked me how I write. I don't write character stories. I write plot-driven stories. So I usually start out with a plot question. I usually start out with a fairly simple idea, put a character into a tricky situation, and watch them work their way out. That's the extent of my ideas, as it were. So to all the people that say, where do you get your ideas? There you have it. I hope this helped some of you who asked me, where do you get your ideas from? I'm usually just asking what if questions. A lot of times I'm just taking my characters and I'm putting them into a tight corner, and I'm watching them sort of try and solve the problem. Thanks for watching. Be sure and like and comment below. check out my site, noblevengeance.com. I'd love to hear your questions or comments, feedback. If you've got any suggestions for future topics, please be sure and email me or just comment on my site.